holsters and targets this week at Cap's Place. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humanoids of all descriptions, welcome to the channel. I'm Cap. This is my place where I'm now living rent-free in your head. This week, firearms video, we're going to talk about holsters and targets and things that should not be targets. So, when you go to pick a holster, the first thing you need to consider is the make and model of the gun that you're going to be carrying. You'll see a lot of ads for holsters that are universal, and universal holsters don't fit your gun snugly. So the gun that I carry on a daily basis is an M1911. I shoot it better than any other gun I've ever been issued, and so that's why I own two of them. So when I go looking for a holster, I look for full-size M1911 holsters. The second thing that I think about is the construction of the holster. It has to hold the holster securely to my body, and it has to hold the firearm securely. One of the problems with picking holsters is that you have to find the holster that works for you, and that means you're going to have to buy a bunch of holsters over the years, and you're going to end up with a box full of them that you don't use and one that you do. So, things to look out for. This holster is mostly well constructed, but as you can see, the stitching doesn't go all the way to the mouth where the muzzle is. And because of that, this holster makes noise. Maybe the people around you can't hear it, but you'll be able to. The other problem with this holster is it interferes, and I'm talking about this part here, it interferes with the safety on my handgun. So for that reason, that holster doesn't get used. Next, shoulder holsters. First of all, you have all the straps to deal with. Now, if you're like me and you've previously sustained a serious back injury, and in my case that's 2 lumbar fractures, a shoulder holster is an attractive idea until you start talking to people who've actually used them professionally, and until you actually walk around with one. In my garage, I have rubber matting to help keep garbage, and when I say garbage, I mean the mud from my rural stone driveway, out of my house. And it's a good thing, because although this is a well-constructed holster, to conceal a handgun, even on my frame, the handgun ends up angled slightly downward. And my gun fell out of this holster, thank God, in the garage on the rubber mat where no one could see it. So, again, so now I've got about $250 laying on the floor. This holster is a very nicely constructed holster all the way around. The stitching goes from top to bottom, it's quiet, and it doesn't move around. But this holster is a range toy. The reason for that is it has no retention device. There's no screw to squeeze my gun, and there's no snap at the top. So for this reason, again, a range toy. Now I've got about $300 laying on the floor. Now to the holsters that I actually use. This is an inside the shirt holster. So although, again, there's no retention device, your shirt, this goes inside your pants. There are two buckles here that snap around your belt. Your gun goes in the Kydex pocket. The leather goes against your skin to make it comfortable for you. And then you tuck your shirt in over your gun. And this is good when it's cooled down outside, but it's not cool enough to wear a jacket. Or for when you're someplace where you have to wear a dress shirt. This is a pretty good holster. The only problem with it is that you have to pick your belt carefully. I like to wear a rigger's belt on a daily basis, and these will not hold on securely to a rigger's belt. A leather garrison belt is a different story. It'll hold on to that all day long, no matter what I do, even if I go grocery shopping. This is a holster that I use. My daily use holster isn't in the pant holster. Although I'm left-handed, I'm right-eye dominant, so I shoot right-handed. I've done so since I went through Army basic training in 1985. What's good about this holster? Again, the stitching runs all the way from the top, all the way down to the bottom, around and back up. And again, same thing over here. The edges are fully stitched. And there's a snap at the top, so it securely holds my firearm. You need to do a drop test with your holster over your bed. If your loaded gun falls out of the holster when you do one of these, the holster's a no-go, and it goes into what a late friend of mine called your box of fa. The next thing to consider is, although this holds my firearm securely, does this present the gun in the same angle every time I go to draw? And in this case, the answer is yes, because this is wide enough to hold onto my belt and press the holster into the pocket formed by the hip flexor muscle underneath my iliac crest. Daily driver holster. The holster I use when I host my shoot. It's a level 2 Serpa holster. You will hear professional firearms instructors run the Serpa holster into the ground. Are there people who have shot themselves drawing from this holster? Yes, there are. Those people, and if they see this, they can scream in the comment section all they want. They failed to understand how this holster works, and they failed to train with it. And you need to understand how each of the holsters you purchase work, and you need to train with them. Let's take a look at this one specifically. So, my carry gun. Chamber flag, because safety. So, here's the trigger guard. The trigger guard locks into the holster, and there's this button here. If you don't press the button on a Serpa holster before attempting to draw the handgun from the holster, what'll end up happening is it'll lock up, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. These are retention holsters. The harder you pull on the grip of your gun, the harder the holster is going to hold on to it. And what ends up happening is your finger ends up in this position, and when it finally releases, you slip into the trigger guard. Oops, that's a 911 call. And that's something saying, oh hey, I'm sorry, doesn't cut it. So understand how your holster works. Next, you also need to understand that although you may have This type of gun the gun that I use when I host my shoot is also an M1911, but as you can see, it has target sights. And those target sights have such a mass that although the gun fits into the holster, I can't snap the snap. It won't stay secure. So this gun always rides in the Serpa holster because that's where it's secure. This one, when I'm out and about, the hammer cocked, round in the chamber, safety on. Look at that, doesn't go anywhere. I could turn around and put a loaded magazine in there and do the same thing. The same results. That's what you want from your holster. Now, let's talk about targets. So, targets. I strongly suggest that you start with paper targets that are professionally produced. Regardless of politics and how you feel about them, the NRA has done an excellent job coming up with appropriate targets for training and competition. So, this is a bullseye target, and it's intended for 50 feet. So, it has a scoring area from 6 points on down to 10 points, and the X-ring in the center. You can get these targets in various sizes. This is a pretty small one. You can get a pistol bullseye target 3 times the size of this. Again, they're scoreable, and you can get a big package of them for $15 or $20. And you can use that same package for a year or 2 years. The next type of target is a law enforcement type target. This is a B-27. Many police departments and other law enforcement agencies and companies that operate with armed guards use this type of target for training and certification. And again, we have scoring rings from 7 points on down to 10 with an X-ring in the center. There are all kinds of variations of this from different agencies in different states, and many of them are available commercially. If you like, and you want to spend the money, professionally produced steel targets are also available of at least AR-500 hardness. They're also available in AR-550. We don't shoot mild steel. We don't shoot crap that we find at the junkyard, which brings me to things that are not appropriate to be used as targets. Frequently, you'll see people at public ranges who are using things that are either inappropriate, unsafe, or both for use as targets. So, anything glass or ceramic is inappropriate for use as a target, especially in a public range. You're making a mess, and you're not going to clean it up. The number of times I have nearly stepped on or have stepped on a big piece of glass, and thank God I was wearing at the time my Army issue jungle boots with a spike protective plate, I can't tell you. A whole lot. Rusty old frying pans or other junk metal. This stuff isn't safe for use as a target. It has curves and other angles to it. It's soft, and it's quite likely to peel jackets off of bullets and to direct lead and copper spatter back at you and the people you're shooting with. Don't use this stuff. Batteries, or anything else that contains something that could be poisonous. If you shoot one of these and it's got a charge in it, this is a lithium battery, you've created a fire. Lithium batteries require generally 4 times as much water to put the fire out as other types of batteries and stuff like that. And finally, electronic equipment. The number of times I've gone to the now closed public range when it was still open and found pieces of stereo equipment that had been obliterated with shotguns or other types of firearms and just left there is inexcusable. And the one day I went out there and there was a hood from an 80s era full-size pickup truck left propped up against the berm and shot full of holes. This is how we lose public shooting spaces. So, paper targets or professionally produced steel. Again, AR-500, AR-550 follow the manufacturer's safety recommendations for distances from the target. So, next month we'll get into drawing and holstering. Hopefully the weather will be nice enough we can be outside. Continue practicing with your snap caps, and I'll see you next month with another firearms video.